Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Divorcing Strong. I'm Becky Sampson, your host, as always. And I have to tell you before I read her bio, how excited I am to have Vanessa on the show because, I'm in a lot of networking groups and I love the energy of my guest today. She is dynamic. She is beautiful. She has an amazing story. And she helps a lot of people through betrayal, which is a huge thing when we deal with when it comes to divorce. So Vanessa, I didn't get her pronunciation. Cardenas, I think she's going to correct me when I'm done. So anyway, is a relationship reset expert and betrayal recovery specialist, helping individuals and couples rebuild trust, reconnect, and thrive after relationships challenges. With a background in psychology and trauma-informed coaching and lived experience navigating betrayal in her own marriage, Vanessa brings raw honesty, compassion, and practical guidance to her clients and audiences. She's the founder of Understanding Year, creator of the Hope Roadmap, and speaker whose recent Oxford talk explores the impact of self-doubt and emotional disconnection in long-term relationships, garnering over 100,000 views in the first few weeks. So I want to go ahead and bring on Vanessa and welcome to the show.
Oh,
I'm going to take my glasses off now that I don't have to read anything.
Becky, thank you so much. I have one little itty bitty correction because I sent that to you shortly after my Oxford talk published. And now 2 months later, 300,000 views.
300,000 views. You know what that tells me? That's 300,000 impact. That's your impact that's out there, that people get to hear your message and what you do and how you help people. So actually with that introduction, tell people I love the question starting off all my shows is tell people who you are and where you're from and what brought you to this point, because your story is really an interesting one, because a lot of people think betrayal has to be the end, but it really was the beginning, I think, in your story. So take it away.
Absolutely the beginning for me.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, my name is Vanessa Cardenas and I am a relationship reset expert. I was just named 2025's best relationship coach in Westchester County, New York, which is only 25 miles north of the city. Yes, the city where I was raised and met my husband. Beautiful chestnut brown eyes. That's how I refer to him. And we met in middle school, junior high school. And we had what I refer to as the epic love story. I thought so. We were the model for all of our friends and family. Oh, it was so glorious. And one day we played hooky and we both had the day off on a Thursday, beautiful Thursday. Oh, it was gorgeous outside. It was that first day of spring when you could take off your jacket, when everybody had been bundled up all winter long. So everybody was out. Everybody was playing hooky that day. And my husband sits me down on a park bench. He says, Vanessa. And I turned to look at him because I was people watching. There's something I need to tell you. And I turned to look at him and he said 3 words, just 3 words. I've met someone. And my whole world shattered in an instant, And not for nothing, I'm a smart woman. I'm a C-suite executive. I have a psychology degree. I'm everything to everyone else. Why?
So let me ask you, how long were you guys married at that point?
At that point, we were married over 20 years. We
20
had known
years.
each
Wow.
other for over 30 years.
Mhm.
Ah, and there I was, a shell of myself, not for days,
Mhm.
not for weeks, but for months. I could not function, and
Mm.
I couldn't understand why it hit me as hard as it did, and I
Mhm.
I searched for everything. I grabbed everything I possibly could, all the YouTube videos, all the books, all the articles, everything to understand why. Why
Mhm.
was this happening? Why did it happen? Why did I miss the signs? Everything else, and I took
Mm.
it all on.
Mm.
And I learned some very valuable lessons, and the first and the most important lesson was to ask for help because
Mm.
I turtled in. I thought I could fix me and I could fix him and we'd be fine. Everything would be fine. No, it doesn't work that way. It does not
Mm.
work that way because when
Mhm.
you're in crisis and survival mode, you can't think straight. You don't sleep, you don't eat, you don't function. How could you possibly help yourself?
Well, and how did you respond to him when he said that to you?
Oh, I was the worst Karen you have ever seen before the Karen became a thing. How I was
Right.
not arrested that day, I have
Mhm.
no idea. I completely lost my mind that
Mm.
and then the next day, I completely turtled in. I went silent for
Mm.
so long, as well as he did. He went
Mhm.
silent because he
Mhm.
didn't expect the reaction that he got from me.
What
He
what
thought
what do you think he was expecting?
well, what we discovered after I asked for help and we started to go to counseling and
Mhm.
coaching was that he wanted to finish what he wanted to say. He went about it completely the wrong way, and he admits to that. But what he
Mhm.
wanted to say was, "I've met someone, and I love how that makes me feel, but that
Mm.
intoxication, I don't want with her. I want with you."
Mm. But he wasn't able to say it at that moment.
No,
So
he was not able to say it at all because he got
oh,
out 3 words, and I completely went
lost it.
crazy. I
Yeah.
completely lost it. I was shrieking. I mean, I I I fell apart, and the reason that I fell apart was that betrayal
Mhm.
unleashed all the micro betrayals that I had had throughout my life that I never identified, all the insecurities that I had
Mm.
going all the way back to grade school of feeling as I am not enough. I'm not
Mm.
enough. I don't have a voice. I don't have anything to say. I'm not important enough to say anything. And all of those insecurities just came flooding back at that moment because here was my person. He was my
Yeah.
everything. And he says these 3 words to me, and immediately anger, rage, all the emotions, the avalanche of emotions came out, and I couldn't function. I could not function. And as I said, the most important thing when you feel that sense of being out of control is to actually ask for help. And I'm not
Mm.
talking friends and family. And they have the best intentions. They
Yeah.
do, but they say all the wrong things. And not mean spirited, but they just don't know. They absolutely just don't know. And that was a very big revelation for me in coaching when he finally got to say what he wanted to complete and say, that I then had that structure to be able to say to myself, "Okay, all right, now you've said it all. You still went about it the wrong way." I mean, if we were having issues that I wasn't aware of because we were
Mhm.
to micromanage our marriage, then you
Mhm.
should have said something rather than going off and having this situation which was in secret.
Well,
And that
let me ask you a question. From
yes.
the moment that he actually said that and you had that response, when did you actually have the real conversation? I mean, did you reach out for help and in the process, and was it months or was it a year or was it like how long? And had you been to counseling before? Had you even considered going to counseling or work with a coach at all?
Not at all,
Yeah.
because I thought we had a great marriage.
Yeah.
And he did as well. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until someone else started paying him attention the way
Mm.
that I used to pay attention to him before we had kids and a house and a mortgage and cars and everything else. Because you have to keep in mind, we met when we were very young. So we didn't
Mhm.
have all those responsibilities that over
Mhm.
the course of our marriage started to pile in. And we took it in stride. And I thought, again, we were doing great. Everything was
Right.
fine. Here we were in Central Park on a Thursday, both of us, being able to take off work and enjoy each other's company. And I
Mhm.
was all into it until I realized that, yeah, 3 words. And that blindsided me, completely blindsided me. I
Yeah.
did not see it coming. I did not know it at all. Again, he kept it secret.
Yeah.
And that's what betrayal is. Betrayal is keeping a secret from your partner, whether that's a communication that you're doing over text messaging, no physical contact, but just a private conversation between you and another person where you're getting very intimate with your
Mhm.
details and you're hiding it from your partner and you're keeping it a secret.
Okay, so I want to talk about that because
Mhm.
that is actually a conversation that I had with my husband. I'm now married for the third time and final. Like he is an amazing, amazing, beautiful man. And I was talking to him about this very thing last night, was about it is so, so important to me because of what I've been through before that we have 100% transparency. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to have the conversation if there's an issue that we're working through that we have to discuss it right then, but knowing that there is going to be a time where we will sit down and talk openly and say, like, this is how I was feeling. Is that how you were feeling? Did just is how are you feeling? And without judgment, but I love that you just brought that up is that being aware of yourself and taking responsibility for your own thoughts and feelings and what are you trying to hide? If you're starting to hide, there beep 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 beep. That's like a major red flag within your own self going, okay, something's not right here if I'm wanting to hide something. And how do I express it in a way where I can feel safe, or how can I create a space so I can feel safe about it? Because I think a lot of listeners that will listen can really relate to that, because that's really where, I mean, maybe I should ask you that question. Do you feel like that those are the little micro betrayals, right? That start the big betrayal.
Right. They start stacking.
Yes.
I consider it like a Jenga game where,
Mhm.
it's just stacking on top of another and, pulling one out here and pulling one out here, and then suddenly
Mhm.
it all collapses. What
Yeah.
I advise my clients on now, because now I'm in this space, because when you work through and you study
Yeah.
betrayal like I did, you then have the gurus, the wonderful mentors that look
Mhm.
to you and say, "You know what? You're being a little selfish." "What do you
Mm.
mean I'm being selfish?" You're only really helping yourself and maybe a few people in a support group. You need to get out there. You need to share this wisdom because you have knowledge plus lived experience
Right.
and you are still married. You give people hope that they can actually get through this speed bump that is their marriage suddenly because of infidelity, because of betrayal, that you can move through it and actually have a successful, loving relationship on the other side, which
Yeah,
is
so
what I
how
know I
how do
have.
people do that? How did you
Oh,
do that? I mean, and again, I would like to go back, like, what was the time period, right, of, like, when he said that to when you guys actually could have a real conversation? Like, what was that? How long was that?
9 months
So
at
9
least.
months.
Yeah, it was kind of like a birth. A gestation period where we needed to kind of, kind of separate, not physically, but just
Right.
able to sit in our own
Process.
space, process it accordingly. And I needed, as I mentioned, I needed to grab everything I possibly could. I could read every single thing. And it got to the point where if I read anything, I would switch it into betrayal. I could read about finance and I would switch it into betrayal because it was just always on my mind. It was just always
Mm.
there. I wanted to understand why he did this, why he felt compelled to do this. And my reaction to it is what troubled me the most was that I was so uncharacteristic. And he'll admit to that as well. That's why he clammed up. He could not believe my reaction. And my reaction was swift and severe. And I've now learned, and it was never like that for me. I was always very reserved and would respond to things. But
Mhm.
this touched a major nerve that I wasn't even aware that I had.
Well, and first of all, yeah. I mean, I think anybody would have that kind of a reaction, and my thought that's going through that is that did you even have a knee-jerk reaction? Like, I've told my second husband, I said, "Look, if you wanna have an affair or if there's anything that way, then don't expect me to be here when when you've made your choice." So did you ever, even in those earlier stages, think, "My knee-jerk reaction, this is that done," or did you
Oh,
did
right then and there, I handed him my wedding band and my engagement ring. I just handed it right to him. I was furious. And because he was hoping that this was the gateway for us to have a conversation about working on our marriage, coming back to ourselves
Yeah.
now that our kids were older, we were soon, we had teenagers at home, so eventually they'd be going off to college and our
Mhm.
lives would transition yet again. But here was this person who kind of weaseled her way in. She saw a crack and
Mhm.
uh, went after it. And he enjoyed it, rightfully
He was
so.
being honest.
Exactly, his confidence was boosted, everything else, and
Yeah.
I understand that, I do,
Right.
and at the same time, he went about it the wrong way, and he acknowledges that. He
Mhm.
absolutely takes ownership for that, which is
Right.
great in and of itself. I take ownership for my reaction because my reaction is what inhibited us to have 9 months of pretty much silence, um, or screaming, me screaming, him still silent. And it wasn't until those counseling sessions and to those coaching sessions
Yep.
where I was encouraged to let him speak.
Yeah, settle down, just settle, just hold on.
I've heard
Just
you. I get you.
put a
Let
pin in
him
it.
yeah, let him speak and
Yeah.
stuff. So he had that
Wow.
runway to be able to speak, whereas I didn't give him a runway at all. The second he
Yeah.
opened his mouth, I was jumping all over him.
And let me say, after so when I got divorced the first time, I dated so much because I had just recently lost 130 pounds. You don't know this about my story, but I had recently lost 130 pounds and got divorced right after that first. So I was experiencing men in a whole different way. And I will say, good men, right? Good men are terrified of women. They're terrified that if they say the wrong thing or they do the wrong thing or whatever. And I can only imagine your husband was like, look, I'm trying to be honest about what's going on. And he gets that kind of reaction that created like something inside of him, like, oh crap. Like I can't, I don't feel safe to talk at all about how he feels. And so was he seeing a counselor at the same time that you were as well?
Oh, yeah. Mhm,
Okay. So you just
absolutely. Oh, yeah, you have to do the work independently, and then you have to come together.
build the trust back
Absolutely,
together.
absolutely, and it's brick by brick, it doesn't happen overnight,
Yeah.
there's no grand epiphany that suddenly, "Woo, we're all fixed." No, it's an
Yeah.
every single day process. So what we have done, what we have incorporated, because again, there's so many techniques and so many
Mhm.
things that you can do to start rebuilding, and you
Mhm.
wanna rebuild that foundation nice and strong. You absolutely do. So what we do is we have the technique that we like is that
Mhm.
every single week we have a conversation. TV goes off, the phones get put to the side, everything else, and we have a conversation and it starts with, "What did I do this week that irritated you?"
It's an
Really
inventory.
simple. Really
Yeah.
simple because that's what starts those cracks that I talked
Mhm.
about,
Mhm.
is these little itty bitty things that we just let go. You just let go and just let go and just let the go. And then suddenly again, those start to stack up. And
Yep.
then they get really hard. And that's when resentment kicks in. So you want to
Mhm.
squash those by saying, what did I do this week?
Let's just shine light on those
Just
things. Let's
just
just
a
get them
little
out
thing.
there.
Just
Yeah.
get them out there.
Yeah.
because a lot of times we don't even know that our actions affected someone else unless
Mhm.
they say so.
Mhm.
Hey, listen, when I carried the groceries in, you left all the heavy bags for me. You're the strong one. I'd really appreciate if you would carry the bag that has the gallon of milk in it
Mhm.
rather than taking the light stuff in. It's little itty bitty things, but those little itty bitty things will stack for you. And that's when you explode over, well, you didn't take out the garbage. It's not about taking out the garbage.
So
It's
let me ask you too on this one too, is that do you ever ask that question and they'll be like, "No, nothing." You know what I mean? Like, do
oh
they
no, there's always something.
okay, there's
Yeah,
something. Okay.
there always is something, and there needs to always be something. It's not supposed to
Yeah.
be a laundry list of
Yeah.
10 different things. It can be just one thing, just this little irritation that got under the skin because
Mhm.
we wanna eradicate those. You
Mhm.
left the light on. You forgot to walk the dog. Whatever it is. Oh, okay. Be mindful of it. And we're years into doing this.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
try to do it every single week. If we miss a week, we miss a week, but we definitely continue to make it a habit to be able to do so, so that we have that outlet to be able to say it, so that we don't snap at each other
Right.
because that's
Well, and
not
it helps you be more conscious with your
yes.
own self. Like what's getting under your skin, whether it's about that other person or not. I love that practice. Just saying, look, let's just get real. Let's like do an evaluation without judgment, right? Without
Mhm,
judgment
mhm.
and just go, that's when I felt, and one of my counselors actually many years ago said, you don't say, well, you made me feel this way. It's like, no, when this happened, this is how I felt, period.
Right,
Like, take ownership of it. Like,
right.
I felt it. I don't know where yet, maybe why I'm feeling that way, but it is what it is. And let's talk about it. I love
Mhm.
that you're providing an opportunity for you to get clear and to get it all on the table so that it's nothing's in the dark.
Nothing's in the dark. There's
Yeah.
no secrets. There's
Yeah.
no secrets because that is the corrosive agent to any relationship is a secret.
So
And
yeah. So
sometimes
tell
the
me more
secret
about
is
this
your own
relation, this
feelings.
discussion that you have. That's a one question, right? You start off with that question and then where do you go?
Then we explore from there because I wanna be very careful with the past. I don't wanna be anchored to the past. So,
Mm,
usually when I am tired
mhm,
or I'm feeling a little bit of my confidence is a little stretched a little thin, I find for myself and in our relationship, I pick on him. I
mm,
just do. And we've now identified that. So
mhm.
I might say something and he's like, "Okay, are we gonna save that for our conversation or do you wanna get into that right now?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I wanna get into it right now." And he's like, "Okay, have you slept?"
First of all, I love that he asked your permission. I
Oh, yeah.
love that he asked your permission. He's like, "Wait a minute, let's do the ground rules right here. Are we talking about this right now, or are we putting a pin in it for this weekend?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, that is such an important key. Anyway, keep going.
yeah, absolutely. And I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna get into it." And he's like, "Have you slept? Are you hydrated?"
Oh.
And whatnot. He's worried about me physically, spiritually,
Mhm,
emotionally.
mhm,
And he's like, "Okay, before we start, I just wanna give you a hug and let you know I'm here." And that
mhm,
hug for me, because he's taller than I am, so if I put my ear to his collarbone, I can hear his heartbeat. And for
mm.
me, I feel that
Yep.
that's the grounding that I need. And
Mhm,
I will 9 times out of 10 say, "Yeah, I'm actually really tired." And he's like, "Okay, we can definitely talk about this if you want, but
mhm,
we can save it." And maybe by the time we get to it, it's not as intense as it is right at this moment. But if you need to get it out, we can get it
mhm,
out now. I
mhm,
just need to know, like, where we are, you know, and whatnot. And, initially it feels kind of funny. It just does.
mhm,
it feels almost scripted, but you get into it and you find, at least in our case and with my clients, because I share the technique with my clients,
mm,
'cause I want them to know that anything that I suggest has been tried and true.
mhm,
Is what I do. I'll read something in a book and say, "Oh, okay, maybe that's for them, but wasn't for us, but maybe it's for them." I'll always give
mhm.
suggestions because I want to make sure that everyone has enough tools to be able to have those conversations that need to be had. Sort of similar to martial arts. And martial
Mhm.
arts is all about the energy, and you
Yep. You
move
move with the energy.
exactly. You don't resist it. You don't stand kind of thing, because when we
No.
stand firm and we're holding it. That's when the daggers come at us. But if we're fluid,
That
okay.
is something I talk about in conflict. I actually, while I was going through my second divorce, which was a crazy nightmare through the legal system, I was getting my degree in conflict resolution, mediation, and peace building. And that is one of the things that we talked about. When you're in conflict with somebody, you don't have a conversation when they're not open to it. And so if they're rigid, that's probably not the right time to be able to talk about the storms of your relationship. You know what I mean? You need to be able to be like a tree or a branch that's movable, and say, hey, are you open to having this conversation? Ask the permission of the other person. And I love that you guys have gotten to that point where you're just like, look, you're a real human being, I'm a real human being. We have built the respect in our relationship to be able to have adult conversations and take ownership for how we feel, and also express, to have the safety to be able to express. I love that. I love that.
Without a doubt. And it's the core foundation of any relationship,
Mhm.
whether, it's in your home environment or professionally, because
Mhm.
betrayal happens in the office as
Mhm.
well. So, yeah, we dive deep into all areas of betrayal. And with that being said, there's also after betrayal. Like,
Mm.
you get to a point, there's a certain point where you've made the decision, you've had the clarity to decide whether to stay or to go, whether to
Mhm.
get divorced, and you have that clarity to be able to do so, and that's where
Mhm.
you come into play,
Mhm.
or you have the clarity to stay. You wanna stay,
Yeah.
you wanna try to make it work, because you're gonna have a new relationship. Whether you decide to go or stay, you're gonna have a new relationship. It's just
I
deciding
like
whether you
that.
wanna have it with someone new, or you wanna have it with your existing partner who is going to be new, and you're going to be new. I am not the same woman that my husband married, not by
Mhm.
a long shot. People who haven't seen me in 10 years cannot believe the transformation. I am a completely different woman. And by all accounts, my husband's a different person too,
Mhm.
but we got to fall in love all over again. So if you going to have if you absolutely are going to have a new relationship, you just have to decide who it's with.
So what would you say to people that are kind of at that stage where they're like, do I stay or do I go? What are the signs that they should be looking for, that they've got somebody that they can actually, they're in a relationship with somebody that can make it and survive the betrayal, if that is something that's been in their relationship? Like, what should they look for to see that, hey, I've got a shot at making this relationship work after betrayal?
One key ingredient, just one key ingredient, very simple: willingness.
That's exactly what I was gonna. I I always say, even when I lost all my weight, people go, "What's the magic pill, Becky?" And I'm like, willingness. You're willing or you're not. And unfortunately, my second husband, when I asked him, I'm like, "Look, are we going to work on this?" And he's like, "Nope, I'm out." I'm like, "Okay, how do you?" The sad part is there's two people to get married, and it only takes, well, I'm going to use this finger instead, one to get divorced. That's what my husband says. Is, unfortunately, you've got to have two people. The willingness. Are they open? Are they willing to do the work?
And
And
it
people
is work.
determine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is work. This new generation coming up feels like they have to find their person. They have to find
Mm,
their soulmate, their person, and they feel like once they have found it, like, the work stops, and it's
yeah.
like, "No,
Mm-mm.
no, the work's just beginning. It's evolving, and it's growing, and each day is different." You're
Yep.
not having Groundhog Day every single day. You enjoy it, you soak it in, and you have those conversations, because when we go silent, that's when the cracks start to happen. Or the opposite, when we just start bickering at each other, because
Yeah.
bickering is anger that is cloaked in fear. There's some
Mm.
sort of fear underneath it. And we mentioned about having the clarity to make that decision, whether to stay or to
Yeah.
go. One of the clear signs is to the freedom from fear. If you
Mm.
have the freedom from fear, then you have clarity to make that decision. Now, again, you'll make that decision, and let's say you decide to divorce, and I'm sure that you know these statistics as well, that
Mm.
even after divorce, there is a small percentage, it's a small percentage that stay friendly because of children
Mhm.
and other things of that nature. But there are instances, they're few and far between, but it does happen, which gives a little bit of hope, is that people remarry
Yeah.
each other. So, there's sometimes it's the necessary break that is
Yep.
needed. They need to fight it out and duke it out and everything else, and then they sign that piece of paper that releases them,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, hold on a second, you know, now I have to start a new relationship." Well, I'm starting a new relationship with somebody I already know.
I love that you bring up that point is that, people often thinks that the grass is always greener on the other side, and starting a new relationship. And I also love that you brought up that even though you're in the same relationship with the person, it's a new relationship because they're changing your perspectives, your language, your awareness, their awareness, their communication, being able to, as I always say, stay in the boat, right? Stay in the boat, stay in the process and without judgment. I can't even stress that. I mean, I used to do life coaching all the time and relationship coaching because it's, you have to take responsibility for your side of the street, and you have to be able to create the safe environment for them to be themselves too, and to feel and think what they think.
Mhm.
It's really and it is true. There is hope that there's people that can come back together. However, it's looking for the information and the signs that willingness is there. Because I believe any two willing people can do amazing things and rebuild. You guys were willing,
Mhm.
and some people think, oh, well, this is a bomb that went on in my relationship, and that's it, we got to get out, like, bomb, I'm out. You know what I mean? No, it doesn't have to be that way. And that's actually, to be honest with you, why I'm married to my third husband, because he says, Becky, divorce is not an option. I will fight for our relationship, and I will give it everything I have. And I'm like, I'm in. That's it. I just need somebody that's willing to be able to go through those bumpy things, because no relationship's perfect. None. I don't care I mean, yeah, it's just not perfect. So who are you going to ride it with? Somebody that
Exactly.
you've been in that process with, that you both have been. And I always say my first husband really, he helped me discover all of the yuckiness that was inside of me at that point, because I was quite abusive to him and he was abusive to me. And people don't usually talk about that. But I had to step out of that to realize what destructive behaviors I was creating in there. And I wasn't willing, I didn't feel safe enough to be able to stay, to be able to work it out. Anyway, it, that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people. And I remember one of my girlfriends during my first divorce, she said to me, she goes, Becky, you don't have to make a decision to get divorced today. You will know that
Mhm.
clarity, like you talked about, that clarity will come when it's supposed to come. And just a couple weeks after that is when the clarity came. But yeah, that's something that was really fascinating to me, is your willingness to be able to stick it out and stay and be able to rebuild your relationship of trust with him on all levels.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There is beauty on the other side of betrayal. There absolutely is. And I didn't know that actually what I was looking for in searching for answers and everything else,
Hmm.
but actually what I was looking for was me.
Mm.
I had lost myself somewhere along the way because I had become everything to everyone else.
Which a lot of people can relate to.
Mhm.
Marriage and kids and school and sports and all of that, you can lose who you are. Talk a little bit more about that, because that's a biggie. Like really diving into who you are and like why you matter, and being willing to take that exploration into who your innards, it's an inside job.
Yeah. Inside out. Absolutely. I mean,
Hmm.
Simon Sinek said it best with, his brilliant book, Start With Why. You know,
Mm,
why? Just who are you and why? Why are you this way? Yeah, the discovery of myself was really fascinating.
mm,
Hurtful, painful, you really dig deep and I needed to find that pivotal moment in my childhood when my inner critic was born,
yeah.
because she had been with me my whole life. I mean, I she was always perched on my shoulder, and I would hear her all the time. Well, after Betrayal, oh, she got loud. She was a whole symphony, and just, "Oh, this is all your fault, and you didn't see the signs, and what's wrong with you," and everything else. I mean, every single bad thing, she just
Hmm.
pounded into me, and I needed to eradicate her from my life. I needed to figure out where it even started. And I had to
Hmm.
dig deep, going all the way back to kindergarten when she was made her first appearance and then suddenly was just always there. And we have three things internally, I believe at least,
Hmm.
that we have: an inner critic, we have our
Hmm.
gut, and we have our intuition.
Okay, so say the second one, because I didn't hear that second one.
Gut, our
Gut.
gut,
Yes.
our gut.
Hmm.
So we have three different things. And I believe, in my particular case, that my inner critic, who I lovingly refer to as Nasty Chick, pretty much beat down and
You
bullied.
named her.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. That's one of the techniques, is to
Hmm.
name your inner critic, because then they
Hmm.
become outside of you. Then you
Hmm.
can have a conversation with, leave me alone. Enough. I don't need to hear from you. Like, just back off, type of thing, because you've named it. You've given them a separate identity from you.
Yeah,
Um,
I
now
always say thank you for sharing. Now go away. like,
exactly.
just like you, I don't. It doesn't make it who we are. It just is what we're experiencing, right? And that's the non-judgment. Like, get it out of the shame that we feel about ourselves because of what we're experiencing or what we're feeling. We're human beings. We're supposed to feel. We're supposed to experience things. But can you say, "Oh, that's really interesting. Like, that's interesting that I responded that way. It's interesting that I'm feeling this way." Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And then we allow our intuition and our gut to come forward,
Yeah.
because those are very vital to us. They absolutely are.
Mhm.
And, just have that balance in your life to be able to do that. So I found myself,
Yeah.
and boy, I like who I am. I mean, I've heard all kinds of things. When you're in 20s, you're not looking forward to your 30s. You're not looking forward to your 40s. My 50s have been great. I mean, they've been great. If I could go back in time and tell my 20-year-old self, listen, 50 is gonna be great. Like, do not
Yeah.
dread it. You might have to go through a couple of football fields of crap, like in Shawshank Redemption, but
Mhm.
you're gonna get to the other side, and it's gonna be glorious. You're gonna find yourself on a beach, just
I
soaking
know.
it all in, just soaking it
Did
all in.
you really think I always say one of my quotes that I have also I said this on a podcast yesterday is that don't ever look back unless you're looking back to see how far you've come. Because we often look back and we beat ourselves up about different things, missed opportunities or decisions that we made or whatever. But I love that you're like enjoying. I feel the same way too. I mean, I don't think I would be this amazing person who I've learned to love if I hadn't been through what I've been through, and honor that journey and being able to say, wow. I mean, I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, look, I don't think you would have liked the girl that I was in my 20s. I didn't have enough consciousness within my own self and humility, to be honest with you, to admit that what I was feeling or not. And I told him on this marriage, I said, look, I'm not holding anything back. I've done that in 2 other marriages. I'm not doing that. You may not be happy with some of the things I say sometimes, and it very little has to do with you. It's just about me, and I get to take responsibility for this. And that is such a huge skill. And when you do that, I'm always amazing myself. I'm like, dude, I'm actually an amazing person. Like, why did I not know this for all these years? And it's okay to celebrate our wins. It's okay to celebrate ourselves. Because, and actually, that is your husband a lot more attracted to you now that you're like more authentic and more loving to yourself?
He's so okay. I got to back up just a little bit because I think and I believe strongly that the most beautiful, beautiful quality that anyone can have, regardless of your shape, size,
Yep,
authenticity, everything is confidence.
absolutely.
Confidence. And yes, he is ridiculously attracted to me because I have so much confidence now, which is so unlike me. I used to agonize over things and I would play out scenarios in my head. If I had a big corporate meeting that I needed to do or a presentation for 2 days, I'd be sweating it out and, this word and my slide and this and that. And I'd replay the whole thing in my head over
Yeah.
and over again, very negatively.
Yeah.
Now it's like, yeah, I got my slides. I'm good to go. Yeah, got my cup of tea. I'm all set. You know?
Well, first of all, that takes the pressure off of him.
Yes.
I always say to men, like when they're dating and stuff, I say, look for a woman who actually loves and honors herself. Because if she knows herself and she's confident that when she has a bad day, it's not going to come your way. Like she's not going to be blaming you. She knows how to shift that. It's not
Mhm.
your responsibility. You're the icing on the cake, not the cake. Like, and I think it does take a lot of pressure off of men. That's why they're attracted to strong women. Actually, I had a guy once tell me, he's like, Becky, you're really way too much. You're a little over the top. And I'm like, well, then not for you. Like for the right person, he's going to be like, go for it, girl. And that's exactly how my husband is now. He's like, you rock it. You just do what you need to do. And even though he's not in that same space, but is finding somebody that likes to see you light up. That's what my husband said yesterday. Becky, you're so much fun when you're yourself and you're in that confident space. And so, yeah, it is a journey and it's a continuing. I mean, I know that you haven't arrived either. It's a continued journey for us to be able to discover who we are and really embrace it and live it. Live it.
Mhm. And
Oh my gosh.
step into the fear. That
Yeah.
for me was a really, really big one. I didn't realize how much of a straitjacket I found myself
Mm,
in related
yeah.
to fear. And I'll share a wonderful story with you. I
Yes.
did paddleboard yoga for the first time. Paddleboard yoga on a paddleboard on the water. It was glorious. Absolutely loved it. I was sitting down. I was good. I was with the paddle, everything else, and then we started doing poses on the board in the water. And I was
Wow.
okay. I was okay because we were still,
Yeah.
close, close to the water. We
Uh-huh.
weren't standing up or anything of that nature. And at one point, we needed to lie completely still on the board.
Mhm.
And I was like, close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. And I
Mhm.
realized that the water was like suddenly very, very a lot of shaking going on the water.
Mhm.
I was like, wow, like, is there a boat passing by? Why is there like it's so wavy and shaking and whatnot? Realized it was me. I was shaking because I knew what was next because they said that they were then going to do warrior pose.
Mm.
Finish out on warrior pose. Now, warrior pose, if you've never done yoga before, is you're standing up solid, you have your arms up, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna do this on a board on water, and my body reacted before I could even process what was going
Mm.
to happen next. So, the instructor started instructing how to turn over because we were all on our back, turn over, and then get up to a standing position on our board. Now, I missed the whole thing, like, I
Well,
because I was so focused on the fact that the board was shaking so much.
mm.
I'm like, "What is that? Oh my goodness, I'm afraid." Like, I'm afraid. And this was a sensation that I was not used to. And finally, people were standing up and cheering and everything else. And then they paddled back to shore. I was the only one that was still on my knees. And she's like, "Oh, okay. If you can't stand, that's fine. Here, here's your paddle. You can paddle back." And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. You have to talk me through how to stand.
Yeah.
I cannot leave this area
Fear. Yeah.
right here, right now, without standing. I have to stand. I
Mhm.
have to face my fear."
Mhm.
And I did it. I got up and I let out such a shriek of pride. And it was so glorious. I felt every single cell in my body dancing in celebration that I overcame my fear. And that's what it is. You have to overcome your fear, regardless of what it is, because when you do, you get clarity.
You
And that,
you actually remind me of that book. Have you ever heard it? Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway?
yes,
Oh my gosh, it's this
absolutely.
little tiny red book, but
Mhm.
it is so amazing that just because you feel fear, you don't have to let that stop you. And I love it that you were like, "You know what? No, I'm gonna feel this. I'm going to put myself there. I'm going to feel the confidence, right? Because confidence is a byproduct of success. So you have to have success. Like you got up on that board and you're like, yes, that's how you overcome the fear. and
Mhm.
and that you saw that, you took the courage and you did it. And that probably spills into other areas of your life as well, right? Because the same thing happens if you don't take that step into fear. Then you let fear be a big huge wall in front of you, that every time that wall shows up you're like, nope, that's it, I'm out, bounce. And then you miss the miracle. You miss the miracle of feeling that fear and doing it anyway. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
So every time I feel fear, what do? I get in warrior pose. I could be in heels and I get into warrior pose because that reminds me you move through it.
Through it.
And it doesn't
Oh.
matter how shaky it might be and how unsure and how unsteady you might feel.
Mm.
Get into warrior pose. I love it. I love it.
Oh,
It's my own personal moment to step into my strength.
yeah.
It's a visceral reaction. It's glorious.
Which, by the way, I love your strength. I mean, that's what I was attracted to when I saw you on, in our group, in our support group that we help with divorced people. Is that I was just like, dude, this girl is like on it. I could feel that energy towards you. It's just been that, and you exude, and not on top of that, your company's like understanding ear. Like, who has an understanding ear, right? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't want to hear it. But understanding ear. So tell people a little bit, just as we're kind of wrapping up and things, what do you do for people when they come work with you? Like, do they work group coaching or one-on-one? Do you prefer to work with couples that are still in that process of being together, or do you work with individuals? Tell us kind of what you do.
Mm. Well,
It's a
first
loaded
and
question.
foremost, yeah, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit about understanding ear because it comes from my favorite quote from Stephen
Mm,
King, of all people. But he wrote a short story many, many years ago, and it starts off with a very long quote, which I condensed, and it reads, "The most important things to say are the hardest things to say,
mm,
not for the want of a teller, but for the want of an understanding ear."
mm.
Hence understanding ear. And I thought for sure I would have to wrestle it away from someone to be my URL. But no, it was available. Synchronicities fell into place that I got that
It's
URL.
in marketing, it's a stick, right? Say to stick, that's a made to stick, because it's
Yes,
like understanding ear, like, where do we really hear that in the world, right? Like, we don't very often come across people that have an understanding ear. So that's a made to stick marketing for
yes,
you, just so you know.
absolutely,
So is it
absolutely
understandingear.com? Is that your website?
correct. Mhm.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And I work with couples and individuals at any stage of their relationship.
Mhm.
Wherever they might have a couple of sticking points that they just need to work through, that they need to reset their
Mm.
relationship, or if it's a catastrophic betrayal and both are willing to put in the work to salvage their relationship. I have had to share with a couple of clients that I'm not the right person for them,
Yeah.
uh, because I am a coach. I am not a therapist. So I am
Hmm.
not going down the road of narcissistic labels and things of that nature. If you've been diagnosed that way, you're going to need to work with a therapist and not a coach. I'm
Yeah.
very forward thinking. I'm very much in your face because I am from New York, so I have a New York grit to
Yeah.
me, and I'll
That's
get
what I
in.
love about you, by the way.
I'll definitely get in your face about things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've worked with clients a few sessions. I've worked with clients for over 3 years.
Hmm.
It really depends on what they're looking for, what their needs are, and needs evolve. I've
Hmm.
worked with a gentleman who had been betrayed. He was willing to do the work. His spouse was kind of willing to do the work. She was
Hmm.
really into it, but she wanted to stick around for as long as she could until she found another. So she winded up betraying him yet again. They got divorced. I helped him through the divorce process and then through the dating process, because
Yep.
when you go through the dating process after being divorced, he was wondering why he was having so many first dates and only first dates. And we had to dig into that and do a mock first date to see how he was talking and what he was saying. And unfortunately, he was just vomiting all over his date about his divorce and his previous marriage and what had happened and everything else. And, too much too soon kind of thing. And I knew
No,
this.
and it's a real thing. Dating coaching. I used to do dating coaching all the time, and it's a real thing, especially when you're coming out of a divorce. You've just got stuff that you got to work through, and you got to realize that it is really heavy. I mean, there are times to talk about it, right? But not on the first date. It's usually you're like, you're not ready.
You're
I
not.
actually turned my husband now. He was only divorced for 6 weeks when he first met me, and I was like, oh boy. And all he talked about was his ex-wife. And I was like, okay, you are not ready. But somehow, we got through that, and I gave him a second chance. Thankfully I did.
That's
But
on
yeah,
you. You
but
did that.
yes, I was willing. He's like, always said to me, he's like, Becky, how in the world did you trust me? So, I mean, he's such a good man. The minute I laid eyes on his eyes, I was like, that's it. You are a really good man. And I'm so glad I was able to snag him, because my girlfriend was like, Becky, I've been trying to find a husband for years. And I have this rule. I don't date within a year of their divorce. And I was like, well, you would have missed my husband. I get it. And that's why it's so important to do your own work personally, so that you know what's right for you. And that you have good coaches like yourself around you to be able to give you perspectives that you may or may not consider. So I'm a huge believer in coaches. So where do people find you if they want to reach out? And I will also have it in the show notes, but tell us.
Understandingear.com.
Perfect.
Absolutely, very much so. Becky, this has
Well,
been such a great conversation. You and I
thank
could
you.
talk for hours.
Well, I hear that a lot, because I actually, the funny thing is that I've been doing this for a very long time, 16 years, and in radio, TV, and all that kind of stuff, podcasting. And my mom said that when I was 2 years old, as soon as I started talking, I started interviewing people everywhere I went. I mean, like within 5 minutes, I knew everything about their life. She's like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just love people. So yes. So thank you. Thank you so much for being willing to come on the show. And thank you for having the willingness to work through the betrayal, so that you can help other couples do that. I know that this work, I always like to, at the end of my, whether I'm a guest or a host, to thank my guests for the work that you're doing, because there's people out there that need you. And so if that is you, please reach out to Vanessa and book a call and see how she can help you. I love it. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you guys for checking in, and join us the next one next week, because I always have experts and people with great information on here. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.